I'm going to go ahead and hit record right now. And 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Welcome everybody to our coaching call for Monday. Like I said before, today is the best day ever. And that's an attitude. That's an attitudinal awareness. No matter, even if you're having the worst day ever, it can change like that with the right attitude. It can flip from the worst day ever to the best day ever, literally in moments. I've seen that in my life where things were going downhill, and my attitude, my awareness of the possibilities completely changed the context, and all of a sudden opportunities broke through that I didn't even know were possible. And that's what I'm always trying to impart to every single person I talk to. And so with all that said, welcome everybody to the call. So glad you could all make it. And we are joined here today by Mr. David Skultety. It's an incredible honor. This individual is literally part of leading this entire company and has over 25 years of experience in the network marketing industry and just a wealth of knowledge, and somebody that I really respect for a number of reasons. One of them is that he really leads with his heart. You know, everything that I've tuned into from joining this company and seeing his leadership and tuning into his calls and his message and reading his book and having personal conversations with him, I just realized, like, this is a man that not only is very intelligent, not only has tons and tons of experience in life, in business, but also is very much all about relationships. And, his work, I think, really, for me, helped me further understand that this business, like all businesses, like life in general, is based in relationships. Right? And relationships are everything. And that's something that I'm constantly reminding myself about. And, this opportunity, this business that we're all part of is no different. That's why I personally love this community so much. It's not about the financial opportunity. It's not even really about the products at the end of the day. It's about the people that I get to connect with and I get to support and be supported by. That's really aligned very deeply for me. So with that said, it's a total honor and pleasure. Welcome to the call, David.
Well, thank you, Ronnie. I appreciate that kind introduction, and good afternoon, everybody. Good afternoon. So Ronnie, before we even get started, let me just congratulate you on your achievement this past month. You and your team here, you've been able to achieve Green Diamond, which is a pretty amazing feat. Congratulations. And for everybody else, I assume this is your team here. Congratulations to you as well. I'm sure many of you advanced yourself to consultant, director, maybe even executive or diamond. And it's it takes a team to do anything, for sure. And I think you hit the nail on the head, Ronnie. This business is all about relationships, and it's been a pleasure to build one with you, and looking forward to doing the same with your team members.
Awesome. Yeah. And, it's almost hard to know exactly where to start. There's a lot of things I'd love to dive into. One of the things that I mentioned before we started the call was really, I think what's most relevant for me and what I notice in my team and just doing all the coaching work I've done over the years, the theme that continues to show up is, like, how do we stay consistent, right? Like, how do we stay focused and grounded in times of great change? Because for many people right now, there's a lot of change. There's a lot of transitions in life. There's a lot of changes going on, and it can be ungrounding. It can be hard to stay focused on our goals if maybe we don't have the right rituals, we don't have the right discipline, or we haven't structured our life in service of our goals. It can be hard to be consistent. And I wanted to really just open up with that, because you've been in this industry and you've achieved so much, and you've built such a massive team, and you've helped so many people do the same. So I'd like to start with that, just get your perspectives and thoughts on how do you stay focused and consistent pursuing something like this?
Well, it's a great question, Ronnie. And honestly, if I really could bottle up the answer to that, I'd probably be a really rich man. Because, and I'm not going to be, for the sake of hypocrisy here, I'm not the most organized, consistent human being on the earth myself. Although I think you hit the nail on the head with the D word. It is discipline, and it is a function of really knowing what you want, realizing what it's going to take to achieve, and then executing on it, and just one bite at a time, one step at a time. and realizing that throughout that journey that, not every step is going to be a clean step. There's, especially like you said, you're in this is the relationship marketing business. I mean, I don't think I've heard that mentioned much within Purium, but I remember my previous company that I was at for 15 years, actually 20 years now. That was what we called network marketing. It was relational or relationship marketing. And so it is really the baseline of this whole thing is the relationships. But, I'll tell you, Ronnie, it's kind of interesting. I think, it's always easier said than done, right? It's always easier said to say, hey, just be disciplined, just wake up and do this and do that. But the truth of the matter is we all have other things going on in our lives. Some of us have full-time jobs. Some of us have, a bunch of kids running around at different levels of age, different parts of the cycle of raising kids. Some of us, we just got, we're single parents, there's all kinds of dynamics that can ultimately become what I would really honestly consider excuses for falling off the rails. But just to be brutally honest, I think for the most part, that's really what they are, and so I think what happens is, and I don't want to minimize anybody's trials or tribulations or challenges that they have, but it really, it's really a function, I think, of just keeping your eyes above the wheel and looking forward. Mm-hmm. Beginning with the end in mind, knowing where you're going, and like I said, doing what you can with the time that you have to apply to it, and at the same time, we in any business in general, in life in general, there's always these kind of roadblocks or pitfalls or things. And that's where it really becomes important to, really focus on what you're trying to achieve and trying to put the blinders on and just staying disciplined and staying focused on things. So, look, I'm not Houdini with this thing, man. I go through challenges of focus myself. I woke up this morning and, I had a list of things that I need to take care of, and long and short of it is I found myself at the beach. I was like, why am I doing that? So I'm not trying to be cute, but that's just we were down at the family beach house, and I was like, okay, get up early. I went out and did a 90-minute ride on my bike, came back, I got in the shower. I had to get back to my other house to take care of some things. And, my daughter was like, hey, Dad, let's just go to the beach, take me down there and see what the surf's like. And I was like, okay, let's do that. And it just threw me out. Threw me completely off. And, that's not a terrible thing, I guess. It was pretty good. But the point is that now I'm scrambling. I scrambled to get home. Awesome to be on your call. But now I'm looking at this stuff. I got to get out of here in 48 hours to come to California. And now I'm like, I'm really backed up against the ropes here. So now I'll be working pretty late tonight. That's the bottom line. But it's okay. It's all good. There's only so many hours in the day. As long as you're allocating them in the right way, I think it works out in the end.
Yeah, there's a number of things that popped up for me. I think one of them is, well, there's a couple of things that I want to kind of get your take on. Because this is very part and parcel to me. I'm one of those very type A type of people. I'm transitioning out of, in the color code, like the whole red, white thing. I think for me, I compensated throughout my life as a red to make it through different things in my life and to pursue goals. But I'm actually a white. I'm actually a white at heart. So I'm actually making that transition psychologically to be okay with not being hyper type A, and yet also bringing that to the fold when it needs to be. And that's a whole nother conversation in terms of like the color code and how that can benefit people's psychology and really getting in tune with who they are, not who they think they should be. But with that brought up, I think that is an interesting point because, you mentioned, congratulating me for hitting Green Diamond. And a lot of people, I think, might see, I guess, quick success or something like that generally would take people a lot longer. What people don't realize is that, you said something interesting that you're scrambling. And for me to get to Green Diamond, I literally had 3.5 hours where before, just very honestly, I was in a place in my life, different things were going on. I kind of was like, okay, I don't think it's going to happen. I'm going to be okay with that. And then Skylar calls me and then she's like, you're so close. And it kind of invigorated me. I'm like, oh, I am. Okay, wait a minute. And then within a couple hours, we got the team together and we made it happen. But it literally, and the same thing with getting to Diamond, literally by the minute to the last minute, it happened. And it made me realize, like, first, that's amazing. That's awesome. And there's got to be a better way to do this, because I don't want to create that pattern. And that might just be the athlete in me, the buzzer beater kind of glory days. I do definitely have a penchant for that kind of thing. But in life in general, I don't want that to be a theme. I want to be able to set myself up strategically where there's a little more grace and there's a little more repetition of creating momentum instead of losing the momentum and then having to scramble. And I think, so that's one point I just want to put out there. And the other point too, for everyone else listening, is I think what tends to happen, I've seen this in my team, the ups and downs with different people in my team, where they'll get momentum, they'll be very excited, and that inspiration and motivation will come through. But then at some point they'll drop off, and some people have dropped off completely. And I've been trying to figure out, like, what's that all about? And I think part of that is this tendency to want or think that we need something to happen very quickly. And if it doesn't, then maybe it's out of grasp, or maybe the long game, like putting the work forward and the discipline forward consistently and doing the small things consistently over time, just like going to the gym, right? It's better to work out 30 minutes a day consistently than to do 2 hours once a week kind of thing. And I wanted to just kind of bring that point for everyone listening.
Yeah, it's a really good point, Ronnie, that you're bringing up here. Again, it gets back to that consistency factor. But, this is a business that goes in different trajectories. I mean, like you said, some people rise faster than others. And more times than not, it's a function of influence and effort. Influence and effort. And that's not to take anything away from somebody who, maybe does not have a strong center of influence. But the effort can make up for that, and understanding the skill sets necessary to go out there and talk to people and seek out those that have influence is one of the things I can really attribute, I think, a lot of my success to over the years. Honestly, I'm nothing special. I understand this space, and I think I'm starting to get relatively good at understanding people. And I think the key to this thing is just to meet people where they are. Meet people where they are, and otherwise you're finding yourself trying to slam a square peg in a round hole, and that doesn't work. It just doesn't. And so for anybody who is watching or listening here, it's all about your own personal journey. And the truth is, we're always going to talk about creating. As a matter of fact, my kind of keynote training piece at convention this week is defined as, I think the title is probably going to be something to the effect of, how to create massive momentum in your business. And there are I'm not going to go in too deep into it now, but there are basically 3 parts of momentum. There's the personal momentum, there's team momentum, and there's company momentum. And I'll just give you a short story. When we launched this business 5.5 years ago, there were a handful of people that had some pretty extraordinary success. And the reason wasn't, I don't want to take anything away from their efforts, but they got into it. But because of the team momentum and the company momentum in general that we created for a 24-month period, their business grew by default. And what was interesting about it was, some of them grew to a level where, I guess, numbers-wise, they would be considered, or rank-wise, would be considered a quote-unquote leader. But they weren't ready for it. They really weren't. It just happened. I think there's other analogies we can probably use where things just happen. It's like, oh my gosh, how did I get here? What do I do? And so through all that calamity and excitement and energy and growth, they lost their way. And just like anything else, look at the stock market, and the stock market doesn't go straight up. It's not timing the market; it's time in the market. From an investor standpoint. And so, what happens a lot is when you have, like, let's take the financial crisis of 2008, 2009, right? It was pretty darn bad. And for those that were invested, it looked like Armageddon. There were some serious issues. You had some major, international banks that were on the fringe of going under. And, we can look at the tape, and, we had, some governments that stepped in and saved some of the financial institutions. And there's a lot of debate over that. But the truth of the matter is, if they didn't do that, if Warren Buffett didn't loan, those billions of dollars to Goldman Sachs, there could have been a huge, huge ripple effect, like a massive ripple effect. But what happened? So lots of people, excuse me, and I'm kind of I'm not very active right now, haven't been for several years, but I was, a financial advisor. And so I still maintain a small but potent client base. And, I can remember those conversations that went down, including a couple that were just like, I've had enough, just get me out. I'm too old for this. Get me out of the market. Well, look, the long and short of it is, a client calls unsolicited order. You basically can try to talk them out of it, try to rationalize it, but it's their money. And I can remember a couple people selling out, and they would have tripled their money from that point of sale. But and then what happened? So anyway, I don't want to pontificate too long, other than the fact that the whole concept of investing is kind of like buy low, sell high. But so many people get fouled up in investing because they do the inverse during emotional times. And the same thing is applicable to this business in general, but certainly network marketing. When you're in a people business, is that, yeah, it's great when things are, oh, this is great. And then all of a sudden there's a pullback and many people feel like a failure. And it's just not the case. It's just the evolution of the journey. And so it's really a psychological thing, Ronnie, as I see it.
You brought up some interesting points. I think is really key for all of us, is that it's not timing of the market, it's time in the market. Just like it's, for me to be like an elite level athlete in two different sports, like I spent my entire life in martial arts in playing basketball. And I didn't really actually hit my blooming point till senior year in high school. Like 10, 12, 15 years after I got started as a little kid, I didn't actually catch the rhythm. My body didn't adapt. I didn't really, but once it all came together, it was a quantum leap. And, it's interesting because from the perspective of, really, when I think about anything I've done in my life, it's always been because of my willingness to immerse myself. And it wasn't and I always had a longer vision. I always had, there was always this vision of what I could become, and it was very much about it was about that. It was about what I could become. It wasn't necessarily about what I can get. It was about what I can become by immersing myself. It's kind of like that quote. I don't remember exactly what Jim Rohn said, but it's not about what you get. It's about who you become. And I know when we are trying to make money and we have this vision of like financial independence, that seems to be the main conversation for people in a business context, especially an opportunity like this. That oftentimes can be the main focus. And I guess I just want to say that I feel like the staying power is more about what intrinsically motivates you, right? Like from deep within, like beyond just what you're going to get, because that's all transitory, right? Like you just said, like it's not a steady ascent. Like there's twists and valleys and turns. But if you're connected with something and there's a mission that you're aligned with in the community of people that you're aligned with, then it creates a staying power. And I guess I just wanted to maybe expand on that one point. I think out of everything that was just mentioned, that's probably the most powerful thing that I personally can take away, because I know in this journey, I've gone through a lot of emotional dips, being in a relationship and transitioning out of that, and the challenges emotionally that come from that. And that's caused me to dip sometimes because emotions would get overwhelming, and I could have quit. I could have said, no, you know what? I can't take this. I need to back off. I need to completely disconnect. And yet something kept me aligned and let me move through those valleys to a place now where it's like the possibilities of what we have with this are so obvious to me that I can't quit. I can't duck out. And especially because now I have a team of people that I don't think they depend on me necessarily, but the leader in me won't leave, even no matter what happens in my life. So I guess that's just kind of a little riff and rant just on a personal note in response to what you said, because I feel like if something is true for you and you're involved in something that inspires you, like this opportunity, I imagine everybody on this call feels that way and your heart is connected to this, then it's not really just about the timing, like the timing. And let me rephrase this into a question to transition this. The timing of Purium is actually really interesting, right? Like, what is it that we have with this company, David? I think you, more than probably anyone, is more qualified to illuminate for all of us, what is it that we really have? Because I don't think a lot of people truly understand the magnitude of what we have with this company.
Gosh, I mean, there's so much to share. I mean, in simple terms, look, I think our most valuable asset is our culture and our community, Ronnie. I really believe that. I mean, we have obviously a pretty strong mission and vision by Dave Sandoval and Amy Venner. I mean, these people have been at this for 25 years. This isn't a new endeavor. This isn't a new kind of, it's not a new drum they're beating, right? They're beating the same thing. It's just they realized at one point that network marketing was a really great way to put it out there. So I think, there's two ways to look at it. You can look at it from a granular product perspective, and we've got, and you take this kind of, let's call it responsibility to go out and make an impact on the world. And, I think that's the best way to look at it. As a matter of fact, I know it is. I think this is Dr. Dana McGrady is going to do one of her parts and about legacy leadership, I believe. And one of her parts is going to be, let me think what it's purpose-driven prospecting. Purpose-driven prospecting. And it's really a fascinating psychological approach to business. If you have a purpose and you're leading with your purpose of why you're doing something, the way it comes across to the person you're speaking to is night and day versus, hey, buy my product. Hey, I got this product to help you. I'm trying to build my business. You see, and so many people go at it that way versus, really kind of harnessing the purpose. So, for me, and I think everybody's different, so I'm not going to sit here and tell everybody what their purpose should be. But, there's kind of two lanes. We've got this purpose of helping heal other people, helping educate people of what the proper ingestion of superfoods should be and can be, right? Whether it's CBD and the amazing benefits that product is providing people, whether it's weight loss or cleansing, great. Whether it's, the athletes' products that clearly are pretty darn good, right? And so if we lead with purpose in our conversations, because that's the key to this thing, is he or she that has the most, open-ended conversations ends up getting more business, you see, and let alone more referrals when you're on this kind of, focused journey, I guess, right? So I don't mind leading with that, but that's not what gets me off in this thing. What really drives me is, for me personally, and I think maybe some of you may relate and some of you may over time want to adapt this in some capacity, is helping other people advance. And so if it's through their health, great, and I know you're really dialed in as a health-minded individual, and I'm sure many of your team members are as well. But from a business standpoint, from a financial standpoint, that's a big issue. Nobody really gets on the rooftops and says, hey, over here, I've got $20,000 in credit card debt and this $50,000 college loan. I didn't even get my diploma yet. I'm drowning. Help me. Like, it doesn't happen. In the closest of relationships, that dialogue may go down, but if that person you're having that dialogue with isn't the person that can throw you again, this is just one option, the network marketing life raft, then you're not going to go anywhere. You see? So, so it is about purpose. And again, what drives me, I think will really significantly drive me in the future, will continue to be centered around that. The financial transformation that so many people need, but they just need to not only own it, but understand that things aren't built overnight, and sometimes we need to get some of the skill sets. Sometimes we need to go through, fall on our face and, pick ourselves up and, brush ourselves off and move forward. So yeah, I think purpose-driven is the way to roll, Ronnie.
You really brought up something that before getting into Purium was not, it was a bit of a conversation working with other health coaches and coaching them more mentally and emotionally move through those areas of developing their business and the possibility of earning what they deserve to earn. But really it wasn't until working with a team and helping people in their financial goals associated with their greater purpose. Most of the people in this team, by virtue of coming through me or people that I'm connected with, are very health-minded. They're health coaches, they're wellness coaches or leaders, or they've been in that field for some time, whether that's their profession or not, or maybe they would like it to be. The number one thing, though, I do see is the financial barriers. For example, let's just call it what it is. If you want to eat all organic, well, how are you going to get the food? Are you going to grow the food? Are you going to develop a relationship with your farmers and trade? Most likely you're going to be purchasing that food the same way that you trade in exchange for most of the things in our commodity-based lifestyle, right? Like that's just the reality and everybody knows it. And yet that conversation, especially among the best-hearted of us, tends to be the conversation that we don't want to have. Right. And yet it's the most pressing reality and the source of stress for most people, especially people with big dreams. Like every single person I've ever talked to in this opportunity, in this team, these are some of the biggest dreamers alive. These are some of the most incredible, intuitive, conscious, spiritually orientated, health conscious people I could possibly imagine partnering with. And yet the thing that I want to see for all of us is that we do find financial independence, because once we get the money thing out of the way, I think Dave Sandoval said this and it really stuck with me. I think actually you said it now that I think about it at the Kauai Regional. It was like, just get the money thing out of the way. Just get the money thing out of the way so you can live your dream, so you can be on your mission, so you can do what you want to do in your life. And I just really want to put that out there in reference to your mission, because that has actually become so much of my inspiration. Like, yeah, rank advancing for myself is great, but I don't actually care as it pertains to me. What I do care about is all the people that it supports, and them evolving and them advancing and them achieving their dream and tasting what that feels like, right? Getting a taste of what freedom feels like so they can actually live their purpose on the planet. And the financial thing definitely is something that I think needs to be more brought into that picture.
Well, it really does, Ronnie. But I also want to preface anything I say is that money and freedom is a relative thing. You know what I mean? we're all a product of our environment. Whomever brought us up, whether it be our parents or friends or relatives, whoever brought us up, we kind of like beat to that drum to some degree. Although many of us sometimes break the mold in some capacity and we move on. And that could be a good thing or a bad thing, honestly. I mean, I've seen some pretty competent, like level-headed parents, like bring up children that have completely gone awry. And they broke the mold the wrong way, right? And at the same time, I've seen some people who, came from families that didn't really have anything, and for whatever reason along their journey said, I appreciate that, I had it hard, but this is what I want, and came to the realization through education or mentorship or whatever, that this is what you have to do. And they just made a decision and did it. I was listening to a couple of the NFL Hall of Fame excerpts of the NFL Hall of Fame inductees this past weekend, just on the radio driving down to the beach the other day. And it was interesting how so many of these NFL players came from nothing, but they had to make a decision, and they were in Pop Warner football. Like, Brian Dawkins, he's a Philadelphia guy. So they were playing that on the radio, and guy was awesome, but he would run through walls for his people. He'd run through walls for his teammates. But he was telling the story of how his father wouldn't let him quit. And there were times in Pop Warner, this is pre-high school, he wanted to quit. He got hurt. He wasn't that big at that point, and he just wanted to quit. and his father wouldn't let him quit, because he knew that was just an excuse. He knew that was a short-term issue. And he overcame it, and he became a great. He's the guy. I mean, anybody gets into the Hall of Fame with any sport, and as an athlete, you can appreciate this. Has gone through adversities like no other. I mean, really, like no other. And we do that here in network marketing too. We do that in entrepreneurship. It's a little bit unorthodox. We're the weirdos out there, and I don't want to take anything away from anybody who just goes 9 to 5 with their job. I mean, that's cool. I mean, that's what makes the world go round. I mean, entrepreneurship, businesses in general, wouldn't function with people who were very content with that. But if you're going to be the captain of the ship, if you're going to control your own destiny, then you need to adjust. You need to make sacrifices. You need to become something that you may not have been for the majority of your life. The question you just got to ask yourself is, do you really want it? Is it worth it? You know what I mean? And that's, yeah. So, I thought I was going off on a tangent there, so I'll leave it at that. But it's really important to understand that we are not the norm, and it's okay.
No, I think that was that. I mean, that speaks to my heart. Like, essentially, everything I heard was the necessity to not give up on yourself, right? I think that's the thing that people. I think that's the thing that people do more than anything, because it's not that you're giving up on. Most people will give up on themselves before they give up on other people, right? And I think that's the thing. I'm trying to help people invert that. Like, it's great to be there for other people, and that's a driving factor, and that's part of our tribal kind of almost like genetic imprint, like for survival. Like, we needed the group of people to come together and support one another. But I want to help people just really invert that a little bit to not give up on themselves and not give up on their dream. And yes, things are going to be tough and there's going to be adversity, but it's how you contextualize it in your mind that changes everything, right? Am I a victim or am I a hero or victor? Like, how am I gonna write the narrative of my life experience? And I think that's just such a powerful thing that you said. And I don't know how much time you have. I definitely want to open this up to some Q&A for people. But the one thing that you said that really just stuck with me, I hope it sticks with everyone else, is that if you don't quit, you'll get to where you want to be.
No doubt about it. No doubt about it. I mean, look, and how long it'll take, I mean, there's a lot of factors that kind of come that. But again, it's just part of the journey. And I think that's why Eric goes back to the purpose-driven prospecting part. And so really, all of you guys, just make sure you don't miss any of the convention, any of the speakers. But when Dana speaks, I think it's going to be really on purpose, because she and I have both been coached and mentored by, the same person over the last 12 months. And we've really have done a deep dive into his legacy leadership, kind of approach to leadership, legacy leadership, and also the way one goes about building a brand, talking to people, building a business in a way that's just not icky, man. You know what I mean? And you said it, like, I'm going to assume, like you said, a lot of the team members here come from a health practitioner standpoint. And I think that's brilliant, but here's what I'll say on that. And I don't want anybody to take this wrong. I've been 20 plus years working with every health practitioner kind of genre, if you will, that you can possibly deal with. I'm not an expert by any stretch. I don't even know half the ingredients and products. I just want to know, do they work? And I'm a storytelling guy, man, So if it works for me, I just tell that story, what it did for me. If it worked for somebody else, I just tell that story. But many people that are almost too smart for their own good, and I'm going to put everybody here, if you guys are in that space, many of you are probably too smart for your own good in this business, where it's not a bad thing. It's not a criticism that you're going out and wanting to make sure it's the best thing and the ingredients and treating and diagnosing and just helping to heal the world that way. But the truth is, there's not enough leverage in that approach to really achieve what you're looking to do. Okay. And that's why I'm in network marketing, is because of leveraging other people's time, energy, personalities, efforts, resources, money. Did I say time? It's like leverage. And so business isn't a dirty thing. It's not. unless you let it be. You see some things in the news and it's like, what are they people thinking? It's like, to each their own, but it's almost a responsibility, it's almost a responsibility. The R in Rise at our event, to me, if I were to create an acronym, the R would be responsibility. The I would probably be impact. The S would be strength. And the E would be empowerment. Mm. And I'm going to lay that out. I kind of just came up with that a little bit, so I gotta process that, make sure I remember to say that. I might need to go back to your recording, but I think that's going to be part of my message, is that we can only rise as individuals if we rise together, and that's the power of networking and bringing a band of individuals, a band of leaders together, because everybody can't be a leader. I mean, let's face it, right? But bringing a band of people together that can be on the same page and passionately, carry that torch, where we can go out and, again, be purpose-driven in what we're doing. So, yeah, I've got a couple minutes, Ronnie. I gotta bounce in about 10 minutes, a hard 10 minutes. So if anybody has any questions or whatever, I'd love to chat it up for sure.
Awesome. So everybody's muted. You can go ahead and unmute yourself. If you can be on camera, that would be preferred. If not, that's okay. So right now, unmute yourself. We got about 10 minutes. Try to make it, 1-2 minutes or so. Or try not to tell too much story, but just bring the question up. There's always a time.
Really chill dude. I mean, really, you can ask me anything. You can ask me how warm the water was here in the Atlantic this morning if you want. I mean, no question's a bad question.
I'm just gonna start. I'm gonna bring someone in. You know me. Like, just either jump in or I'm calling on somebody. All right, I'm going to unmute Andrea. I just feel intuitively there's something there.
Oh, goodness. I don't know if I have a question so much. I was just listening and my kid was running in and out. But I'm excited to meet y'all. And like I said, this whole business side of it, and just even what you said about empowering people through this business, that's not just through changing their health, because that's my bent, is I want to fix everybody's health or see people, be healed through whatever process it takes. So I haven't looked at it as much from the business side. So hearing what you said was good. So I don't know if I have a question per se, but yeah, I'm listening.
Well, Andrea, first of all, it's nice to see you.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, I guess I was kind of semi-right then, that some of you are cut from that mold, and that's a great mold, But I think if there is interest in that from a business perspective, I mean, create your own crusade. Right. I mean, you know what I'm saying? It's like, it doesn't have to be a radical thing. It's just like, this is what you're passionate about, and when you just share your passion with others, it's much more better received.
Right.
You know what I mean? And it becomes non-evasive. And I think that's where a lot of people have this. Matter of fact, I know this. Lots of people don't address the business side of things because of fear.
Right.
And it's the fear of what? I mean, there's different things: fear of rejection, fear of what they'll think of me, fear of, oh my gosh, fear of money. I mean, so many people's emotional relationship with money has been completely twisted since their upbringing. I mean, some of us sat in a house where it was like, no, we can't get that. We can't afford that. No, we can't get that. We can't afford that. And if you hear that repetitively over and over and over again, your brain is not going to be able to get off that rail unless you slowly but surely move that pendulum kind of away from that, And so again, in my mind, a very large percentage of the whole process is psychological. So anyhow, hope to see you next week or this week.
Yeah, looking forward to it. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. Yeah, beautiful. I see Lisa just jumped on. Hi, Lisa. How you doing?
Good. How are you?
Good. Did you just hop on a minute ago?
I was listening to it audio, and then I couldn't unmute it on my phone, so I was like, oh well.
Okay, cool. Well, welcome. Do you have a question for David?
Yeah, I guess like what like if you had to name like 3, let's say, like what key things would you say for like a very new beginner in somewhere like an area that like people are not doing this whatsoever?
In other words, if you're brand new to network marketing, Lisa, is that what you're saying?
Correct. Yeah, correct.
I mean, first of all, find a mentor and has been where you've been or is on the path, of where you want to go. I mean, that's number one. I mean, because you can't go at this thing alone.
Mm-hmm.
It's another big mistake so many people make. Excuse me. Secondly, I think it's a function of just taking the emotional, not making yourself the issue in the process, and getting kind of, I don't want to say robotic, that's probably not the best term, but just keeping it really simple. Hit it with the simple stick. I mean, what are we really doing here? We're sharing products, we're handing out gift cards, we're talking about what we have. What you have is you've invested, albeit a small amount, you've invested in your own online business. You've got your own online superfood superstore, and the products are amazing. And you are just on a mission to tell everybody about it and let them know how they can get access to it, how you have a $50 gift card for them, and where their interest may lie. And some of those things may come about through conversations about product. Maybe they come about through conversations with business, Excuse me, I'm coming over a cold here. Yeah, whether it's the product or the business, just lead with passion.
Thank you.
Thanks, Lisa. And then we have Brittany Bergen. I'm going to unmute you right now. If you're able to come on camera, that would be amazing.
Hi, yeah, I'm able to come on camera. Thanks, David. Thanks for joining us. I'm receiving lots of knowledge bombs from you and Ronnie, as usual, and I'm excited to meet you at convention. Yeah, first, I just want to sort of echo back and mirror back what Ronnie was saying earlier about the quantum leap, and he was talking about in terms of sport. And when he finally reached like this level of development physically, he was able to have a quantum leap as an athlete. And that's sort of what I'm experiencing in the realm of abundance. So I've been working on calling in abundance, and it's interesting. Like, I don't believe we can create change until we actually focus on something, right? So for me, I think I resonate with Ronnie talking about like the white part of himself. I'm all about like my purpose. So I want to thank you also for talking about like purpose-driven prospecting, because I think that's going to open up a whole new realm for me. Because my purpose, if I were to put into words, it's manifesting heaven on earth. So it's creating this heaven on earth reality where we're all fully embodied spirits. And so bringing that sort of hand in hand with actually working on the financial side of things instead of neglecting it, right? Because when we neglect something, how can we expect it to grow? So I'm working on both, right? And I've been working on finances and abundance for the first time in my life, really, and actually tackling it and focusing on it. So I want to ask you, David, from your perspective in Purium as well as a financial advisor, if you had to give us all one tip for manifesting more abundance in our lives, what would it be?
Oh my gosh, let me think about this one. One tip, manifesting abundance. I mean, it's interesting, I've got 3 teenagers, and for years, probably a good 10 years now, we have created a vision board as a family, as individuals. Because I really believe that the visualization of one's desires, goals, is going to play a big role in that. And so you can't just like keep it in your brain, because the thing is, at least I can't speak for anybody else. I can only speak for myself. But when things go awry and there's distractions, it's a challenge to keep your eye on the prize. But if there's something you can visualize on a consistent basis, a reminder, if you will, I think it's a big help. On the financial side, it really does start with your relationship with money. I mean, gosh, man, it's amazing. Like, I had 500 clients before I actually kind of left my practice, and that was 500 households. It's a lot of people, and it was tens of millions of dollars in assets that I was managing. And it was as I look back on it, the relationship that people have with money was kind of crazy. In other words, there were some really great entrepreneurs, like really kind of like, I mean, we're talking about like landscaping guys that, you know, this isn't like a Wall Street dude. This is like a landscaping guy I can think of that was like, came from nothing, but just worked really hard and built it from 1 crew to 5 crews to 10 crews to paving highways. I mean, this guy was like backhoeing money into his world. And he had no idea what to do with it. I mean, the guy was completely out of his mind, and he was buying things, and it just didn't serve him well. And it just showed me at that point that money doesn't buy happiness. You know what I mean? So I think it's about, it's an idea. It's a function of, you know, having that relationship with money, knowing what you want to do with it before you get it. That's an important piece of it. And then once you get it, following through on that, you know. I think the same thing, Brittany, applies to the business here as well. Look, again, I'm assuming many of you, if not all of you, are doing something else in conjunction with this or in addition to. You know, it's a balancing act, I think. And again, I don't want to keep on going back to the whole legacy, purpose-driven piece of this thing, but if there's one thing you can start to walk away from this Zoom today, it's about purpose. And as we go into the convention and come out of there, if we can take some of that information and really get purpose-driven, gosh, it's going to make it so much easier in the process. You know, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I don't spend a ton of time, quote unquote, manifesting things. I just like, I mean, I guess I do, but I just subconsciously don't know I'm doing it, maybe. You know what I mean? Whereas I've seen other people, and I respect it. They're just like really get, you know, cosmic on it. You know what I mean? The crystals are all lined up. It's like, woo! I mean, and I've seen it all, man. But I've been down the rabbit hole plenty of times, so I understand that. And I've come out of certain dynamics and have really had a brighter view on life. But however, to each their own is what I'm saying. To each their own, whatever it really takes. I don't know if there's really one specific way, but if it works for you, it works for you. That's what I gotta say.
That's amazing. I have all kinds of riffs and rants I could respond that too, which are pretty fun. Great answer, by the way. I love your straight shooting mentality. Thank you, Brittany, by the way, for asking the question. That was a brilliant share. Dave, do you have time for one more question? We have Jane, who will be joining us this weekend, that has a quick question.
Yeah, sure. One more. That'd be awesome. Hi, Jane.
I'm getting back down to dollars and cents. I have an issue sometimes talking to people. Everybody seems like they're on board, and then the big question is, what's this going to cost me? So that goes back to your comment about people's relationship with money, and I'm having a hard time with that. You know, what to say. Also, because our Canadian dollar is horrible right now, so you know, it's like 1.3 times whatever price you'd be paying if you're in the States. But so I'm having a bit of a block. It's like I don't even want to talk about the money part with them.
You know, Jane,
I don't really know what to say.
it's a great question. And first and foremost, you're right. The Canadian dollar's got some challenges, and that's got challenges for business in general. So it's not just network marketing, but there is a little bit more of a challenge. So at least we can be forthright on that. I think, you know, I mean, look, I don't want to be trite. I don't want to be like, you know, sarcastic, but you know, the bottom line when you're having conversations with people, especially if you have a relationship with them, is like, I mean, the truth is this could cost you more if you don't get engaged, you know, whether it be your health or your financial. So really what it comes down to is, you know, how much is someone, I mean, do people know what they're getting involved in? Do they really want it? And that's the hardest thing, because everybody wants to enroll somebody. Everybody wants to recruit somebody in. So they're trying to say all the right things. But in my experience, the right thing is, are you really looking for something? Do you really want this? You know, I mean, it's an amazing situation, but if it's not for you, it's okay. And so sometimes taking it away from somebody before they even have their hands on it is a really good approach. You know, and it's a little bit of a psychological warfare on the sales process and on the enrollment process. But, you know, if somebody's not interested, Jane, they're not interested, you shouldn't force it upon them. Excuse me, sorry about that. So does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I'll put that in my back pocket.
I'm gonna put it in my front pocket because I'm not even sure if that was a
Maybe in
good.
the front pocket, right?
I'm gonna put. I'm gonna.
It's true. But
Jane, are you
then,
coming?
and then I'm also,
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
sorry, I'm just saying I'm also, maybe some of that is my issue, my money issues. You know what I mean? Coming out, making me afraid to talk about it. So I have to be mindful of that too.
Yeah, and all I can say is, look, I mean, we all go through some type of things. It's just you don't want to go through this, try to swing the pendulum all the way to the left or swing it all the way to the right because you get all out of kilter and you come out all distorted, and it never serves you. I don't think. That's that's what's usually happened to me. It's got to crawl, walk, run in the direction that you want to go. You know what I mean? And ultimately, you reach the target.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and by the way, Jane will be there with us this weekend. I think you were about to ask that question.
I was going to ask that question because I was thinking as it swirls around in my front pocket, maybe I'll come up with a better answer. I'll think about that one. It's kind of interesting. I might have to think a little bit more on that. So ask me again in 5 days. Maybe something better will come out.
Thanks, Dave.
Yeah. I know you got to roll, David, but one of the things that you just said that I think is like really important is that you got to crawl, walk, and run in the direction you want to go. And one of the tendencies, especially with the whole like all the information, the spiritual, financial abundance information out there, if your mindset is not attuned or integrated with that to begin with, and you swing all the way over here, you haven't actually integrated all the developmental stuff that you need to, so you can win the lottery or you can have massive success. But if your default is down here, eventually life will default us back to where we are developmentally, right?
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Makes perfect sense.
Mm-hmm.
Cool, man. Well, thanks for having me. This is awesome.
Yeah, thank you so much, David. This was easily the best ever. That was the intention, to have the best call ever, and I think we've achieved that. So just really appreciate you. Looking forward to hanging out with you this weekend and seeing everybody that's going to be joining us.
Well, I'm looking forward as well, and I assume you're going to post this in groups and stuff. So if you can post this, including Purium partners, because I actually thought it was a pretty good call too. I mean, I thought the energy was like, whoop, it was all lined up. So it's good stuff, man.
Cool.
Appreciate it. All right, guys, safe travels. Look forward to seeing you towards the end of the week.
All right, aloha.
Aloha, be well.
And then everyone else, I'm still here. We still got a couple minutes. So if anybody else has any questions or anything that they want to share, any feedback or whatsoever, definitely now is the time to do it. I'm still here with all of you. I'd love to hear your thoughts or any further questions that you might have before we cancel out. I'm curious what you took away from this call with David as well.
Hi, I'm on, Ronnie.
Hey, Tamara.
Hey, great. Spurred a lot of different thoughts and emotions in me. And I think, and we've discussed this before, that for me, being in network marketing, and I was a good 25 years ago, was becoming a product of the product first and foremost. And understanding product knowledge is so key to offering that part of it to your prospectives, teammates. And that's right now, that is my focus, is to understand the product and be a product of the product. And that, that equates into purpose, and then that unfolds many different facets of helping people to become the best that they can be in their physical, spiritual, financial, and everything that goes under that umbrella. I'm one that always jump in when someone has a problem regarding their health. I've learned so much from you in the past, and your books, and offering the truth of how they can improve themselves in that way is something that I am almost like a pit bull with when somebody's got a physical, problem. A lot of times people they won't buy it just because they're stuck, but at the same time, back to being a product of the product. So I got to get myself in shape, and I've already lost 10 pounds.
Awesome.
I'm really happy about it. It's had its bumps, and its peaks and valleys, but you can't quit and not give up, even though there's those, headaches or, sprinting to the bathroom or, just the Herxheimer and all that, but not giving up and just keep going, just pushing it through. So, yeah. And thank you, everyone.
Yeah, beautiful. Thanks for sharing that, Tamara. Yeah, that's the biggest thing that I can possibly just keep iterating for people is like, if you just stay in the game, you're liable to win. You keep swinging the bat, you're going to hit the ball. Like, it's going to happen. Like, you're going to learn your rhythm. You're going to learn what is off kilter and how you need to adjust your posture, adjust your swing, however you want to think about it. And eventually you're going to hit the ball. And once you do hit the ball, it creates an interruption in the old pattern of not hitting or missing, right? And the built-in belief systems that, it's never going to happen, or blah, blah, whatever the thing is. Once you have that first thing and you have a home run, even if you just hit the ball. And then eventually that will lead into home runs, a natural progression that happens, but it only happens when you're in the game and you stay in the game and you give yourself enough time to become successful, however you define that. You just can't quit. And the thing is, really, it's not quitting on anything else other than yourself, right? Being really loving yourself, trusting yourself, owning the fact that you actually want something more for your life is really everything. Because once you can come to that level of self-honesty and self-appreciation and self-respect, then that's the fuel to move through anything that's going on in your life, because the challenge is there to not, I don't think they're there to test us. I don't have that perspective anymore, but they're definitely there to help us advance forward. I wouldn't be the man I am without the challenges and crazy stuff that's gone on in my life, and still does go on in my life. I wouldn't be who I am, and I love who I am. I'm grateful for who I am, and it seems like a lot of other people are pretty happy about that too. Some people maybe not, but most people seems to be really excited about that because of what I'm able to provide the world through my work and through my passion and my dedication. And that wouldn't be possible if I hadn't gone through and moved through and persisted through all the different situations and challenges that have come through the way. So it's ultimately been me not giving up on myself, me not giving up on my dreams. And that has allowed me not to give up on other people, namely all of you and everyone that shows up and says, hey, my hand is up. I want an opportunity to experience what life is like on the other end of my comfort zone. And, it's what inspires me so much to work with all of you. We're pretty much at the end of the hour. I actually have a number of calls that I have to get on. So I want to thank all of you for taking the time week after week to jump on these calls. It's not just for you, but it's also for me, because when all of you jump on, it inspires me as a leader of this team. Remember that you coming on the call is for you, but it's also for me, because it inspires me to continue to lead, to continue to show up. We're in this together. It's a two-way street. It's not just one way, and we're all here supporting one another. So I'm going to have this posted in our group. I'm going to have it posted on our pages and tagged, and you can share this with your team, watch it again. This, I think, was our best coaching call by far. The most practical, the most grounded, and we went in a lot of different directions. I think we're able to pull some interesting perspectives out of David that doesn't normally happen, at least from what I've seen, and kind of expand into a little more depth. So really, really happy with this, and thank you all for showing up. As always, if you need any support whatsoever, just post questions in our group thread or reach out. And I'm really, really excited to see a lot of you at our convention literally in a couple days. It's right around the corner. So excited to meet so many of you in person for the first time. Some of you being connected for years and getting to meet in person. It's going to truly be a life-changing experience. For any of you that can make it happen, all you have to do is get a ticket. We can find a room for you. There's still spaces available. If you have the will to do it, we can make the rest happen. And it will truly be a life-changing experience. It will be the best investment you can make into your business, into yourself. It will change you by being in this energy field. It will change you in what you believe is possible. So if you can make it happen, reach out to me. We'll do whatever we can to make it a smooth bridge over here, and I couldn't recommend it enough. So with that said, everybody have the best day ever, and I'll see you when I see you. Aloha.